Hey, what's up, everyone, and welcome back to Cinematic Reviews, presented by Quantum Podcasts. As always, I will be your host, Chris, and this is the show about all things movies and TV. Well, we got a jam-packed episode for you all today. We got some more reactions to talk about from Netflix and Prime Video. Then we'll get into not one, but two featured series, this week on the Marvel Marathon. We've got Daredevil Born Again, both season 1 and 2 we're going to talk about today. We're just going to lump them all together. Season 2 just wrapped up with this finale about a week or so ago. And then we also got the Punisher special back on May 12th. So we're going to talk about the Punisher as well. Since those two parts of the MCU are kind of just put together naturally, back in Netflix, we were introduced to Jon Bernthal's Punisher through the Daredevil series. And now the MCU from Disney is doing the same thing. They've lumped the Punisher into Born Again, gave it his own presentation now as well, and then he's going to show up in Spider-Man 2 later this summer. So Daredevil, Punisher kind of go hand in hand, so we're just going to lump them all for a Punisher-sized episode today on Daredevil Born Again and One Last Kill. Then we'll wrap things up with all the rankings, the popcorn rating, the villain scale. We'll only do the villain scale for Born Again. There really wasn't a sort of villain, so to speak, in the special. And the special was only like 15 minutes long. So we're going to shift the focus mainly to the villain in Born Again, which was, of course, Wilson Fisk, a Kingpin. So we'll talk about him a lot today. And then we'll, of course, get into the MCU ranking with One Last Kill and Daredevil Born Again and where it stacks up against the rest of the MCU. Before we dive into all of that stuff today, a couple of reminders at the top. Of course, you can watch the show every week at youtube.com/the Cinematic Reviews. You can also listen to the audio version on whichever podcast network you deem worthy. It is around the world, so we can find us on any podcast network out there. Also, check out the social media pages, Facebook, X, Instagram, and TikTok. Post all the shorts, graphics from every episode, news, updates, popcorn ratings, all sorts of stuff get put on there. We just got the new trailer for Avatar: The Last Airbender Season 2. So I'll post that trailer along with other character posters to kind of get everybody ready for that show coming on Netflix. I believe it comes out on June 25th. Super excited about that. We will be talking about that on the show, of course. Also, check out the official website of the podcast, cinematic-reviews.com, where you can just simply set up a profile and rate the shows and movies like I do with the popcorn rating. You can also watch the episodes. You can watch the shorts. You can test your knowledge with some trivia games on there from both movies and TV. And then now, what I've been working on this week is adding a rankings feature so you can rank, the MCU, the Harry Potter universe, Star Wars universe, just like I do on the show as well. So go ahead and check out the new rankings tab. Make as many lists as you want, all sorts of different ones. You can do it by actor, movies, genre, whatever you want to rank it as. So another feature to try out on the website. That's cinematic-reviews.com. I think that is everything. Let's dive into our news and reactions today with those three reactions from Prime Video and Netflix. So first up, we're going to dive into Netflix land. We don't normally do a whole lot of documentaries on the show. Mainly, we try to focus on movies and TV shows. But when there's a documentary that I really liked or really stuck with me and that I want to talk about with you guys, we're going to do it. So this one is called The Crash. If you're not familiar with it, not familiar with the case, or haven't seen the advertisements for it, it is about Mackenzie. The case about the 17-year-old girl, Mackenzie, who crashed her car going like 100 miles an hour into a brick wall in Iowa, killing both her boyfriend, Dominic, and their friend, Davian. She was found convicted on 12 felonies, two of the felonies being murder. She is serving, I think, 15 to life. I think she's appealing, or she's waiting for parole at some point, but she did get found guilty of those 12 felony charges, including those 2 charges of murder. Now, the reason I wanted to talk about the documentary today is it's really well done. This is a case that I remember reading about back in 2022, 2023 when it happened, and Netflix has finally released a documentary on it. The Netflix is really good with their documentaries. I really like theirs. They're probably the streaming service that I look to first when it comes to documentaries. Then you have HBO. I think Peacock's got a couple. I think Prime Video is starting to get some documentaries on there too. But Netflix is the big one for me, and then I'll switch over to HBO Max as another one. I think Disney or Hulu might have some documentaries too, but Netflix seems to be, at least in my opinion, the top dog when it comes to documentaries, and then I think HBO Max is right behind it. But Netflix did a really good job with this crash one and getting all sides of it, telling the truth. It mainly focuses on the prosecutor of the case and Mackenzie's parents, and then of course the family and parents of the boys that was killed during this crash. Now, a lot of I wouldn't say controversy, but all of the arguments in social media is like, well, did she, have the intent of killing him? Was it aimed towards her boyfriend? Was it aimed towards both of the guys? Me, after watching this documentary, I believe there's another documentary that I just heard about that is on HBO right now. I watched that a little bit probably this weekend, but this one, it really centers around, did Mackenzie have the intent of killing her boyfriend, or was this actually an accident? Well, looking at the evidence, I don't want to dive too much into it because there's a lot to cover today, but looking at the evidence, the brakes weren't applied. The speed stayed pretty consistent up until like the last 5 seconds, which that would be at the point where it's about to hit a freaking brick wall. So obviously the car is going to come to a stop. But there was no tampering with the vehicle. There's no malfunction with the vehicle. They tested all that. Like I said, the brakes were not applied. There wasn't really any swerving from what the camera footage from nearby buildings. It was just a straight shot through the neighborhood going, 98 to 100 miles an hour until eventually hitting that brick wall and killing the 2 guys and severely injuring Mackenzie, who ended up surviving, of course, because she was on trial. But looking at all the evidence, it seems like she had the intent. Well, then, evidence gets brought forward. Dom was supposedly going to break up with her. She didn't like it. They frequently fought, and the prosecution side of the case was like, okay, this was done on purpose. There was at no point that she was being the driver, and they connected her into the driver's seat because of the slipper she was wearing, and I think some of the camera footage probably picked up that. But the biggest one was that her slipper was stuck on the gas pedal because of the collision. So that really put her in the driver's seat at least for the point of the crash. So did she have purpose, intent to kill her boyfriend, both guys, whatever the case may be? And that's what the jury ended up convicting her on, that she did purposely murder these 2 guys by slamming the freaking car into a brick wall at 100 miles an hour. Now, a lot of the rest of the documentary, is really shining some light on her personality, her toxic traits that she brought forward. And again, we're not going to dive too much into it because there's a lot to cover on today's show, but I just want to kind of briefly give you what you're going to be walking into. It's a lot of peeking the curtain back on what kind of person Mackenzie was towards her boyfriend, towards her friends, towards the family, other families involved. So check out The Crash. With the popcorn rating, I gave it 5 popcorns. It was a really well-made documentary. Really like it. Now, there was another part of this that really, really irked me, and that was her parents. Her parents seemed to not understand the gravity of the situation, or they just were blinded by unconditional love, or whatever the case may be. But they pretty much let her do whatever she wanted. At least that's what the documentary showed. That was kind of the home life that she grew up in, was that she was basically a missile running wild. Like, there was no leash, there was no discipline, there was no, I guess, real parenting going on in that household growing up. So then once she, a 17-year-old girl starts dating a 20-year-old, apparently the parents didn't have no red flags raised. I think any other parents would have a red flag when it hear about their 17-year-old daughter dating some 20-year-old man, living with him nonetheless. So it's just a lot of red flags from the parents. Talking about this with a coworker of mine, she brought up this thought of, well, maybe the parents were scared of her, which the Netflix documentary didn't really show that, but that's certainly a possibility. So maybe the parents were scared of her, so they just kind of let her do whatever she wanted, because that seems to be the trend going on with this next generation coming up. Social media, things like, she was clearly a TikTok influencer. They really wanted to show that light too as well, where she wanted to be famous. She wanted to be in front of the camera. She wanted the attention. She wanted to be on social media. She wanted to be all that stuff. And her parents didn't really care. They supported her. They kind of let her run wild. And this is kind of where we're at, is 2 boys are dead. And she has been convicted of murder. So I guess moral of the story, keep an eye on your kids. Be an actual parent. Know where your kids are, know what they're doing, and steer them in the right direction. Obviously, these 2 parents have some reality checks that need to be made. They need to come to light that this could spawn from the way that she was raised. But that is for another conversation to have with themselves. But that's just kind of the culmination of this documentary. There's a lot of things getting thrown at you, but they did a really good job with this at Netflix, so I'm giving it 5 popcorns on the popcorn rating. So check out The Crash today on Netflix, and then if you want some more, check out the other documentary. I can't remember the name of it, but that is over on HBO Max. I bet if you just search like Mackenzie or The Crash, it would probably pop up for you. So go ahead and check that out. It's a very interesting case to kind of sink your teeth into. So next up, we're going to head over to Prime Video for 2 new releases that came out. First up, we've got Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan Ghost War movie. This, of course, is a continuation of the Jack Ryan series, starring John Krasinski as Jack Ryan on Prime Video. The original series had 4 seasons. That ended a few years ago, I think. Let me look at the dates here. Back in 2023 was the last season, so it's been a few years since we've had anything to do with Jack Ryan. Of course, John Krasinski is a very busy guy. He is now directing a bunch of movies, including A Quiet Place, which has been his baby the last few years. But Jack Ryan has been his continuation role, I guess, similar to him on Jim Halpert on The Office. So this is kind of his new kind of run of a character that he wants to kind of go back and forth with, doing movies, then come back for like a movie or a special event for Jack Ryan, go back to making more movies or starring in movies. But I really like his Jack Ryan. We've had Harrison Ford, we have Alec Baldwin, Billy Ben Affleck did it for a couple. And I really like the Harrison Ford take on Jack Ryan, probably one of my favorites. But John Krasinski does a fantastic job as well as Jack Ryan. I really liked him in the original series. Now, Ghost War itself, this follows Jack Ryan, who reunites with the CIA operatives to navigate a treacherous web of betrayal against an enemy who knows their every move, facing a past they thought was long put to rest. So that past being James Greer, played again by Wendell Pierce. It turns out that he was involved with this secret group of operatives that did some bad shit, and now his past has come back to haunt him, and Jack Ryan has been mixed up in the middle of it. Now, I wasn't expecting a whole lot to come out of this kind of special movie event, because the Jack Ryan series was like one of Prime's like biggest shows to be released. And I just like, we had the 4 seasons. Do we really need to add on to these movies? And I think just at the end of the day, the writing just wasn't there for me. But it's still a really good action movie. It's a pretty decent Jack Ryan movie. So with that, I'm giving it 3 popcorns on the popcorn rating. Not bad, but not great or amazing as well. Just kind of middle tier. Pretty decent Jack Ryan film. It does not hold up to the original series. That is still one of the best shows that I've seen, especially on Prime. But this movie was, like I said, I didn't have a whole lot of expectations going into it. A lot of these streaming movies that are spun off of a original show tend to not be as great as the original show. For example, I like to bring up the Psych show, one of my favorite shows of all time. The movies were entertaining and fun, and it was great to see, the cast back. But the movies just didn't hold up to the series, and I think they were probably better off just doing like a special event season or some kind of special presentation like Marvel does now with like a 50-minute Punisher special instead of an actual like hour 45-minute blown movie, which they were probably better off just coming up with a cool 5 to 6 episode season and just making it like a bonus adventure instead of just throwing off this half-assed 1 hour 45 minutes. But John Krasinski is still good in it. Like I said, I really enjoy his Jack Ryan. It's just this movie didn't really hold up to anything as far as the original series. But go ahead and check it out if you're a fan of John Krasinski, if you're a fan of this new Prime Jack Ryan universe that they've kind of made and are continuing to make. It's still a pretty decent movie as far as action and Jack Ryan. So check that out today on Prime Video. Next up, we're going to finish this off strong with one of the biggest shows to hit streaming in the last probably 10 years. And that is The Boys. The Boys is one of my favorite shows of all time now. It has now ended its original run with this original series. We had the Gen V spinoff with, I think, 2 seasons. That didn't really catch my attention. I watched most of the first season, but I just wasn't into it like I was with The Boys. And you would think with it being in The Boys universe that it would just suck me right in. I just was kind of out on Gen V. And that could be just a personal thing for me where I could have been just so attached to Billy Butcher, to Huey, to Homelander, to Starlight, A-Train. It's just this original cast is incredible. And the story that they were telling throughout these 5 seasons is awesome. And I just really, really enjoyed it. It's an incredible show. I didn't read much of the comics, so I didn't really have a whole lot of lore and attachment to this comic book universe, like probably a lot of other people, but it does make me want to go back and read the comics because what I'm hearing online, it's a lot different, especially this last season, especially with how they ended things. That's the big controversy right now on social media, where a lot of people were really bummed out on how this ended. They probably expected this huge battle between Butcher and Homelander like they've been leading up to, and it was kind of, I guess how they put it on social media, lackluster. I didn't see it that way. This ended really well, I think. And I like it when shows do this, where they kind of pivot away from what you're expecting to happen. Because, yes, that would have been really cool to see this big-ass brawl between Butcher and Homelander. But we've kind of gotten that already, especially starting from Season 3 and going into Season 4, where Butcher started to inject himself with the V1. It's just, we've gotten that before. So the fact that they chose, now I'm going to spoil this, and if you don't want to know the ending, skip ahead a few minutes into the Daredevil review, but we're going to end on this note here. So the ending is, I think, fit well with what the Homelander character was, and it was kind of a pivot from what I wasn't expecting. Like everybody else, yes, I was expecting this huge ass battle that would eventually result in Butcher dying and Homelander dying. But that would be it. These two have been at each other's throats since Season 1, and it was going to end with them one way or another. And it kind of did in a way, but not in the way that a lot of people expected it, which I'm totally fine with. I think it landed the plane. So they're able to depower Homelander, which was the storyline from like Season 2 or Season 3, where they come up with this idea to depower him. And they finally do that through Kimiko, who gets large amounts of radiation pumped into her system so that she can, how I like to call the Soldier Boy blast the shit out of Homelander, which they're able to do in the White House, and depower him. And what was great about that scene was Anthony Starr, who plays Homelander in this series. He is fantastic. I really hope that he gets to sink his teeth into another character. Maybe not a bad guy, maybe a good guy. But I think after doing Homelander and The Boys, he can pretty much do whatever he wants. And I'm really curious to see what that role ends up being, similar on the Homelander level, where he gets to just sink his teeth in there and just really give a great performance. And his performance at the finale was really, really good because of what they did with him. So they depowered him. And not only did they depower him, but they made him revert back to his like 5-year-old self, which is basically what Homelander is. Homelander is basically a child who got superpowers and didn't know how to handle them, didn't know how to handle people, and just was let loose upon the world. And the fact that when they depowered him, he reverted back to a 5-year-old kid was awesome. Like, his mannerisms in there against Butcher was great, where he first tries to do the heat blast from his eyes and he can't do it. And Butcher's kind of like, holy shit, we did it. And then he tries to fly. And it's like us when we were 5 or 6 years old, when we're like, hey, maybe I can fly today. And we just kind of do that little hop in the air. And then he realizes that he has the powers and he's trying to get away from Butcher. But it's that little kid kind of like, oh, maybe if I go like this, he'll not catch me. But then, oh no, he's too fast because he's bigger than me. Like, his mannerisms as a 5-year-old Homelander in that scene were great. And then Butcher finally gets what he's been wanting this whole time, is killing Homelander. I love that part where he picks up the crowbar. Or first off, he beats the shit out of Homelander's face. Like, this is for Frenchie. And just pounds the shit out of Homelander's face. And then he eventually picks up the crowbar. And then he says, this is for my Becca. And he plunges the crowbar into Homelander's forehead. But he doesn't stop there. He cranks that sucker up and pops his head open like a fucking tomato soup can. Like, that was one of the most satisfying and insanely graphic deaths that I've seen on TV. But I'm totally fine with the hell it ended. Like, it made sense. And then Huey has to confront Butcher because Butcher's lost his freaking mind. He wants to nuke all the soups in the world. So Huey, protecting his woman, Starlight, has got to shoot Billy Butcher, and then that's how he dies. So you get this kind of full circle moment between Huey and Butcher, where Huey's the one that has to ultimately put Butcher down because he's just out of control. And then Butcher realizes that Huey had no choice. He had to put him down. He lost his mind. So I really like the finale. I basically described it scene for scene for you, but it was really good. I really love this show. I'm giving it golden popcorn. All 5 seasons are golden popcorn, even the 5th season. I understand everybody's frustration, their disagreement. I've even seen AI videos of people redoing the ending of this show because they're so pissed off. Like, I mean, I understand it. I was pissed off with Game of Thrones, and I did start to write my own ending to Game of Thrones back in the day, but it's a show, guys. Like, the creators are going to do whatever they want. It's your choice whether you want to watch it or not again. I'm going to watch this show over and over and over again because I love all 5 seasons. I'm giving all 5 seasons the golden popcorn, which is the highest level on the popcorn rating. But that's me. That was my decision. I really like it. Now, this finale is not going to be for everybody. It's probably not going to be for diehard comic book fans out there, or for some of the diehard fans of the show, because it's just not what they wanted. Well, sometimes what we want isn't the best. I realize that. Yeah, I would have loved to get a Butcher and Homelander brawl to the death in the White House. But the creators found a different way to end this story in a way that fans weren't expecting to. And I thought it was very entertaining. And it made sense once you think of it. So I think once you dissect not just this episode, but the show, the finale is going to make more sense, and why the creators chose to go this way. And I trust the creators. They've given us all these episodes so far of incredible moments of TV. And you just kind of have to just trust that this was the best idea that they came up with. And sure, Maybe somebody out there could have written a different ending. It's up to you whether you decide that's better or not, but I think this finale fits the story that the creators were trying to tell. And I really liked it. So that's just me. So I'm giving it the golden popcorn, the highest level on the popcorn rating, because I absolutely love The Boys. So check out all 5 seasons, including the finale of The Boys on Prime Video today. Also check out the Gen V spinoff and the Diabolical cartoon spinoff as well. So plenty of Boys content for you to watch on Prime. So that's going to do it for the news and reactions today. We're going to take a quick break and we'll dive into Daredevil and Punisher. This episode is brought to you by Dubby Energy. Still drinking energy that quits before you do? Stop crashing, stop shaking, and start performing. Meet Dubby Energy, clean energy made for gamers, creators, and anyone who refuses to slow down. With zero sugar, no jitters, and no crash, Dubby keeps you locked in whether you're grinding ranked, streaming for hours, or pushing through those late nights. There's no crash, no fade, just gas. Drink different, perform better. Grab Dubby Energy and use code Cinematic10 to get 10% off your order today.
Everyone, hands in the fucking air!
When I was a kid, I thought God had given me a special destiny. Like a mask and a purpose could save me. My mistake was thinking I was immune to the darkness.
It's hard to come to terms with a violent nature.
Tough guy, huh?
Not at all.
It's time to embrace your true self.
Hey, Frank. How you doing, brother? Talk to me. Tell me what's going on. What's going on?
Think God's gonna forgive us for the things we've done? I'm not sure about me. But you ain't got a fucking chance.
That's all you got? That's all you got? That's all you got?
So season 1 of Daredevil came back out on March 4th, 2025. And then season 2 came out on March 24th, 2026. And then we had the Punisher special just come out on May 12th, 2026. So a lot of Daredevil and Punisher content today. We're going to focus a little bit more on Daredevil Born Again, just because there's more content to talk about. The Punisher was only about 50 minutes long, so we'll kind of tie that into throughout the episode today. But the main focus will be Daredevil Born Again. That's the lump of it. We've got, I think, what was it, 9 episodes for season 1 and 8 episodes for season 2. So a lot of stuff to talk about. And we'll kind of dissect it a little bit as we go along. And then, of course, the Punisher special, like I said, was about 50 minutes long, but it was really good. It's one of the bloodiest, most violent things Disney has done. I mean, Daredevil 2, and we'll talk about that more when we break down some of the fight scenes in there. But Daredevil Born Again was just unleashed by Disney Plus. I remember when the first few episodes was coming out of season 1, I was like, holy crap. Like, this is probably bloodier than the Netflix one. And Netflix really went out of their way. Not really out of their way, but they really committed to, like, let's make this a violent Daredevil show, you know? And then we'll introduce the Punisher. Then we'll get even more violent. But Disney Plus is like, hold my beer. The MCU version of Daredevil and Punisher is going to be even more bloody, more gory, more dark. And I really like that. I like this iteration. I love the iteration from Netflix. Like, Charlie Cox is fantastic as Daredevil. But he's able to carry what worked well in the Netflix series and bring it over to Disney and make it even better. Like, this is the best iteration of Daredevil that we've gotten. And as we continue with him, season 3 has already been confirmed for next year. Will it go past season 3? Only time will tell. But he is fantastic. Same thing with John Bernthal. He is the Punisher. Like, there's even combat veterans out there that have praised John Bernthal for his portrayal of Frank Castle, who is this very haunted former Marine with a massive amount of PTSD. And John Bernthal does a fantastic job at portraying that, especially in One Last Kill, the special event that just came out. Like, not only like his war background, but the fact that his family was brutally murdered. Like, that PTSD just haunts him throughout this entire One Last Kill special event, and he does this perfectly. Love John Bernthal as Punisher. So to give you kind of like a brief synopsis of all three. So season 1 of Daredevil Born Again. So we're getting caught up with where Daredevil is. You know, he's hanging out with Foggy, and things like that. But then something bad happens, and Foggy is taken out of the picture. Now, this is what really sends Matt Murdock over the edge. And this is a way that Disney stamps that nobody is safe in this show. Not even Foggy Nelson, best friend of Matt Murdock. And they brutally and depressingly take out Foggy Nelson by none other than Poindexter, a.k.a. Bullseye, who was the villain in season 3 of the Netflix version of Daredevil. And we'll get to this more in the iconic scenes, but that whole big way to launch Daredevil Born Again was so well done. You have Foggy getting shot in the street. You have Karen Page freaking out as she's holding the wound and just screaming, "Foggy, stay with me." While all this is going on, you have Daredevil coming in and beating the shit out of Poindexter, but Poindexter's giving it right back. There's a moment there where you see Daredevil with like 6 blades inside of his body, and he's still going at him like a tank. Like, the adrenaline rush that Matt was given fighting Bullseye because he killed Foggy, or was causing Foggy to die. And you can hear, and I love how they did this, where periodically during this fight, you can hear Matt listening to Foggy's heart slowly going down. You can hear him. You have him hear Karen screaming Foggy. He can hear Foggy's last breaths going. And every time he hears that, they cut to him and he's yelling and he's beating on Bullseye even more, even harder. And it was one of the greatest scenes that I've ever seen in a show. One of the best scenes in all of Marvel and all of comic book history. This scene right here, when this aired, I was like, we are about to get one of the best shows on Disney Plus. And we did. Daredevil Born Again is one of the best shows that Disney Plus has given us. It's one of the best shows that Marvel has given us. And it was all because of this opening scene. Like, this is how you open up a show. You take a character that a lot of people loved from the original series back in Daredevil, and you make him slowly die, and you give our hero, Daredevil in this case, this tragic moment to where he has to carry this through the entire season now and the entire series as we go forward with Born Again. And that's what he is struggling with through season 1 is trying to understand, why did Foggy have to die? And he failed Foggy. If he can't even save his best friend, can he even save New York from Wilson Fisk? So he hangs up the Daredevil horns for a little bit. Then he's forced back into it as, you know, Wilson Fisk is running for mayor of New York, which he ultimately wins. And this forces Daredevil to come out and fight Wilson Fisk as he becomes mayor, but he also has to deal with Muse, who is this crazy-ass serial killer who just kind of gets thrown in the middle here and just causes rampage upon the city, and Daredevil has to take up that as well, but it kind of gives Fisk ammunition to take down the vigilantes, because that is his big platform of becoming mayor was, we need to get rid of vigilantism in New York and then eventually the world. So he uses Daredevil, he uses Punisher, he uses Muse as examples, or the White Tiger as well. We'll talk about him a little bit too. He's only in a couple of episodes, but he plays a pivotal role in this whole platform for Wilson Fisk to run for mayor. And it's just, he has it out for vigilantism and he wants it banned. He even starts up his own task force, the Anti-Vigilante Task Force, or the AVTF, who eventually dons the Punisher skull as their logo, as kind of as showing their respect to Punisher. But we get that cool scene at the very end of season 1 where Punisher's like, fuck you guys. You guys are nut jobs. And he's just goes to town on those guys. And then season 2 brings in Daredevil again as he is trying to take down Fisk, who is just doing whatever possible to ban vigilantism again in New York. But eventually Daredevil is able to show New York the real side of Wilson Fisk. Show them Kingpin, not Wilson Fisk, but show them Kingpin. And season 2 is really awesome as well. You get a bunch of familiar faces, like Jessica Jones pops up. You get John Bernthal again. You get Luke Cage pops up at the very end, because now he has a daughter with Jessica Jones, and this kind of opens the doorway for the Defenders to come in. Like they've kind of teased for season 3, which will be kind of a reunion with the Defenders from Netflix. Iron Fist, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Daredevil back again, as they probably team up to take down whatever big bad is going to be in season 3. But season 2 is kind of like the downfall of Kingpin, where they're able to take him, rip him out of office, impeach him, beat him to the ground, and force him to be banished from New York City forever. So that's kind of the breakdown of Born Again. And then the Punisher special kind of picks up where we left off with Frank Castle. He's still, troubled by the murderous acts upon his family. His wife and his daughter and his son were brutally murdered. He's also dealing with PTSD from being a Marine back in the day. He apparently killed a very rich and wealthy family called the Ganucci's. Killed the dad, killed the 2 sons, and now the wife, mother, is left, and she puts a hit out on him, which causes this massive war to break out in this little neighborhood that he's staying in, kind of like the projects basically of New York or wherever he is. And just all out war happens, so he's got to fight off all these guys while saving people that just happen to live there, and they kind of got in the crossfire. And that's where it ends. It's only 50 minutes. It kind of just ends. He gets in his new Punisher suit, shoots this piece of shit guy that killed a dog, and that's it. That was it. It like kind of just ended. And I was like, oh, cool. He's in a really cool Punisher suit, and then bam, that was it. The show was over. But it was a really good 50 minutes. Like I said, it's one of the most gory, violent things that Disney has done. And I applaud them for doing that, because Disney has always been not really scared, but always a little on edge and a little nervous with sending out adult material, especially on Disney Plus. But I think, having Deadpool and Wolverine come out, and then eventually Daredevil Born Again, now they're able to just unleash Frank Castle in whatever Punisher special or show or whatever guest appearance that he's going to have in the future. They can feel confident that, hey, we realize that some of these Marvel characters are going to be more adult oriented. So just kind of make the right choice in letting your kids watch this. And honestly, yeah, sure, there's some gory stuff in here, but I mean, kids like 14 and up can probably handle this. You know, once you get into the 12-year-old, 10-year-old, 8-year-olds, then it's probably like, oh, okay, maybe we should wait a few years for them to watch this. But I applaud Disney for just realizing that, hey, we have characters in this universe like Punisher, like Deadpool, Daredevil. Like, they're going to need hard R ratings for some of these projects to do them justice. And that's just the reality of the business. And I applaud them for finally realizing that they could pump out R-rated material. And this Punisher special is definitely R-rated. Like, they say fuck every other line. The gore, the blood, you know, the things that the Punisher does to people, where he's stabbing them 60 times with a pen. He's shooting 20 bullets into them. He's hacking them to death with a machete. Like, it's just insane. He grabs everything that he can hold in his hand and uses it as a weapon, and it's just a bloody mess. And I really applaud Disney for giving us that. So that kind of sums up the three projects that we'll kind of break down today. We're going to run through the cast list here, and then we'll get into all the notes and categories and all that fun stuff for today. So Matt Murdock, aka Daredevil, again played by Charlie Cox. Absolutely love Charlie Cox. He is perfect as Daredevil and Matt Murdock. I can't see anybody else in this role right now. Now, we previously got the Ben Affleck version of Daredevil, which was fine. That was more or less, I think, the writing than anything. And it being in 2003, you know, Marvel was just kind of throwing shit at the wall to see what would stick. But then Netflix came out and was like, hey, let's do a bloody, true iteration of Daredevil. Let's tie in Punisher. Let's have Wilson Fisk in there. Let's have Bullseye in there. And it worked really well. And now Disney is able to take that and make it even better, because that's what they do. They did it with Spider-Man. They did it with the Fantastic Four. They're doing it with Daredevil and the Punisher. Like, we're finally getting somewhere. But Charlie Cox is fantastic as Daredevil. Absolutely love him. Wilson Fisk, a.k.a. Kingpin, played by Vincent D'Onofrio. Absolutely love Vincent D'Onofrio. I remember, I think the first thing I ever saw him in was Law & Order Criminal Intent. And then eventually I got around to Full Metal Jacket to see Private Pile. But he is now Kingpin. And that's kind of what he's just doing right now, is being Kingpin within the MCU. And he's fantastic. I absolutely love him. I love that they found a guy, like, D'Onofrio is a big dude. Like, he's tall. And over the years, he's dealt with weight and things like that. Now with season 2, you can really tell that he's kind of slimmed down. But he still has that big body intimidation feel to him. Like him slimming down, I think, makes him more of a threat, because now he's got muscle. You know, it's not just like fat and things like that. Like, he's got real muscle, and he's tall. Vincent D'Onofrio is a tall guy, and he's great as Kingpin. I absolutely love him. After seeing him play Kingpin for this long, I can't see anybody else doing as good of a job as he does. So bravo to Vincent D'Onofrio for being one of the best villains in the Marvel universe right now. Benjamin Poindexter, a.k.a. Bullseye. He's fantastic. I like what they did with him in Born Again more than I do season 3 of Daredevil. Like, he was great in season 3 of Daredevil, but they made him wear the Daredevil suit more, because that's this kind of story they were telling. They're trying to do a copycat Daredevil in that one. Here, he's actually in his blue, more comic accurate suit, and he's kind of like an anti-hero more or less in here. Like, Daredevil's forced to team up with him in this season, but he's still a piece of shit that's going to kill whatever he wants for money. He ends up killing Foggy, tries to kill Wilson Fisk, and that forces Daredevil to say, hey, we got a common enemy. I still hate your fucking guts for killing Foggy, but hey, let's take down Wilson Fisk together. So I do like Poindexter in this series. He's really good. I hope that we get to see more Bullseye in season 3, or maybe even some other projects as well. Karen Page returns. She is now the love interest to Charlie Cox in the second season. The first season, they kind of put him with Heather Glenn, who is the kind of like a therapist. She's the love interest in season 1, but then she eventually falls for Buck Cashman, who we'll talk about here in a second. in season 2 after her and Matt break up. But Matt was supposed to be with Karen Page. Anyways, they kind of set that up back in the original Netflix series. But they are now together. But Karen Page, great. Love her. She's awesome. Buck Cashman, he is the kind of, I guess, the Wesley. If you remember Wesley from the Netflix version of Daredevil, that's kind of what Buck Cashman is. He's the right-hand guy. He's the trigger man for Wilson Fisk when he doesn't need to pull the trigger himself. I really like Buck. He's an interesting character. He ends up getting shot at the end of this. I don't know if can't remember if he lived or not. I think he ended up living. But he did kill Daniel Blake, who is the next character we'll talk about here briefly. But he kind of had to. You know, Daniel was kind of a loose cannon, but Daniel was just trying to do the right thing. He was best friends with Bibi, who is the niece of, what's his face, from the original Netflix series. He was the newspaper. God, I can't believe I haven't watched the Netflix one in a while. Oh, Ben Urch. Yeah, Ben Urch. So Bibi is the niece of Ben Urch, and she's kind of carrying on that Ben role as the reporter. She was really cool because she had that secret podcast-like thing where she was dressed up as the Kingpin and giving D'Onofrio some shit. And that was a really cool feature as well, bringing in podcasting and what term, like slander news or whatever the hell it is. But that was a cool little like side story for her. But Daniel Blake, he liked Kingpin at the beginning, realized that he was a piece of shit, and then he ultimately got shot in the face by Buck when he turned good. So, but he was pretty good character. Could be a little too ecstatic sometimes, but that's just who the character was, and he did a great job. Heather Glenn I already talked about. She was the love interest in season 1, and then eventually looks like she starts to fall for Buck in season 2 and joining Kingpin's team after, you know, being mentally fucked up by the Muse attack in her office, which we'll talk about here in a few minutes here. But looks like she is going to be Lady Muse from what it looks like. She's got the Muse Max. She puts it on at the very end of season 2. So maybe season 3 she becomes the Muse 2.0 that Daredevil has to fight, which would be interesting. Vanessa Fix returns. Season 1, they got a lot of marital problems. They kind of dip into it a little bit where they've been estranged for so long. She's been kind of running the empire while Fisk has been healing by getting shot by Echo. But then she ends up dying in season 2, which I didn't see coming. Like I figured they would have killed her off eventually, but not in season 2. I would have thought like maybe season 3, maybe season 4, but they ended her here. But I guess Fisk needed that push to turn full Kingpin by having Vanessa die. So it made sense story-wise. I was just really shocked that they pulled the trigger that soon in this series. But she's great. I like her. We get Swordsman returning. Remember him as the stepdad in Kate Bishop's Hawkeye. Again, we're doing this a little out of order. We're going to review Hawkeye in a few weeks here. But that was cool to get him kind of like thrown in the universe every now and then as the Swordsman. Jack, if you remember him, the stepdad to Haley Steinfeld's character. But he's great. I love seeing him here. I like that scene where he's locked up in Wilson Fisk's prison. Daredevil breaks him out, and they have to fight with each other side by side. It's really, really cool. And then, of course, Frank Castle, the Punisher, played by John Bernthal, returns as well in a couple episodes. Season 1, we get him fighting the anti-vigilante task force brutally. So good. I love that scene. We're going to talk about Frank some more here shortly. So that kind of wraps up the cast there. And then, of course, Frank Castle is the star of the One Last Kill TV special for the Punisher. Couple notes here, and then we'll get into all the categories today, and then we'll wrap it up with the rankings. So Wilson Fisk as mayor in the New York within the MCU. I love the idea. It's great. Wish we would have gotten more of it in other projects. You know, he kind of allured to it in season 1 where he's like, you know, no more spiders, no more devils of Hell Kitchen, no more Punishers. You know, they reference Spider-Man in here, but I wish he would have popped up in No Way Home or maybe he pops up in Brand New Day coming out here in July. But I wish we would have gotten more of him. You know, we did get him briefly in Hawkeye. We got him briefly in Echo. But those shows were not as prestigious or welcomed in by audiences. You know, Hawkeye, I really love Hawkeye. I might be in the minority there. I'm going to talk about how much I love it. I know a lot of people didn't really care for the Hawkeye show. I didn't really care for the Echo show. I definitely didn't care about the She-Hulk show, even though Daredevil was in there. But I wish we would have gotten more of Wilson Fisk as the mayor of New York in between season 1 and season 2 of Daredevil. Would have made it more, I think, even more impactful with him getting booted at the end of season 2 out of office. But that's just me. I already kind of talked about this a little bit, but Disney going all out on the blood and gore with both Daredevil and the Punisher, One Last Kill. Fantastic choice. I mean, the Muse fight scene in Heather's office was bloody as shit. Like, there was blood all over the freaking place, and that was from a Disney project, which I'm so surprised. You have the whole battle at the beginning of season 1 between Daredevil and Poindexter, where Foggy's just pooling blood out. Daredevil's taking 6-7 knives in his body. Eventually, I love that scene where at the exact moment that Foggy actually dies, Daredevil says, fuck it, and tosses Poindexter down, and he just pancakes on the ground, and you could see the giant pool of blood coming underneath him. Bravo to Disney for just leaning into the blood and gore for characters that actually need it. Like the Punisher, like Daredevil. Really, bravo to them. And then, of course, One Last Kill, like the bloodiest, the goriest thing Disney has ever done. And I applaud them again for it. It's just, you unleash the Punisher in a way that we've all been wanting. And I hope Marvel does the same thing with Venom. Because I like the Tom Hardy version of Venom. But those movies should have been rated R, and they should have just let him go unleashed. And I'm very excited for Marvel, Disney to hopefully do the Venom even more justice in their universe. I have this note here. So it's Daredevil in jail, Fisk on beach. What the fuck? So at the end of season 2, Matt Murdock reveals to the court when Kieran Page is on trial that he is Daredevil. That he's been a Daredevil this whole time because he was a witness to the Northern Star boat destruction, which forces Daredevil to go to jail for being a vigilante because of all the crimes that he's committed. And then Fisk gets to go on a beach. Like, what the fuck? Like, we have our hero who, yes, he murdered people, he assaulted people, but he had all the good intentions in his heart. Like, he did what had to be done. Fisk should be in prison, not on a beach. Like, the fact that these are flipped, I was like, what the fuck at the end of season 2. But it was kind of like a chuckle, entertaining what the fuck. Like, I know this isn't going to be the thing forever, but still, though, it's like we go through this entire story and Daredevil ends up in jail. Fisk ends up on the beach, even though this entire time Matt Murdock's like, dude, you're going to end up in jail again. I'm going to put you in jail again. And he doesn't. He gets to go on a beach, and Daredevil's the one in jail. Like, what the fuck, man? That was my initial reaction to the season finale, but it was still a really, really good finale. I just had to put that note in there. I had to get that out there, because I was just like, I audibly went like, what the fuck? Like, what is going on? The roles are completely flipped. So what is the future of Frank Castle and Daredevil going forward? Well, season 3 of Daredevil Born Again has already been confirmed, I think, back in like September 2025. That'll be premiering, I think, like March or April of 2027. So another year, which I'm totally fine with. I'm fine with a Daredevil every year. Like, this show is awesome. I'm super excited for more of this. But yeah, season 3 will be coming in 2027. It looks like the Defenders, Jessica Jones, Iron Fist, Luke Cage will be coming back or making an appearance. We'll probably get D'Onofrio's Kingpin back. We'll probably get Poindexter. We'll, of course, get Matt Murdock back. Probably out of jail. I don't think he's going to stick in jail for much longer. Now, there's a theory going around, and after watching the finale of Daredevil, this makes sense. So if you've seen the Spider-Man Brand New Day trailer, there is a scene in there where it looks like Tom Holland is in a prison fighting the Hand. Now, the current theory is that he is attempting to break Daredevil out of prison when he finds out that he has been sent to jail for being a vigilante. Now, it makes too much sense. I think it's about a 50-50 shot that that's what's going on. It would make sense because it's the Hand. We've had the Hand before in the Daredevil series. So Daredevil is familiar with the Hand, so it makes sense to put him in there. We do have the Punisher coming back in Brand New Day. He has already been revealed into the trailer, but we haven't seen Daredevil in the trailer. But he's been in a Spider-Man movie before. So there's even more weight to this theory, and if this is the truth, I'm going to lose my shit in the theater if Spider-Man's the one that breaks Matt Murdock out of jail because he needs his help to fight the Hand. It's going to be the best Spider-Man movie ever. You have my guarantee. So I really hope that this theory is true. But that's what it's looking like for the future of Daredevil right now. He could be tied to Tom Holland's Spider-Man. I think he was confirmed for Doomsday. So he's going to pop up in the Avengers. But season 3 will be coming next year, and I'm very, very excited. What's the future for Frank Castle then? Well, like I said, he's going to show up in Brand New Day. There's already talks of doing another Punisher special, which I think is definitely warranted. One Last Kill is getting a lot of praise from both critics and audiences. Like I said, war vets are praising Bernthal's portrayal of PTSD-ridden Marine who is struggling with the loss of his family. And yeah, I think we're not done with John Bernthal. We're not done with Charlie Cox. Like, we're gonna get more. How we're gonna get it, that's kind of up in the air. But I think more Punisher specials are on the way, and I think he'll be a character where you just kind of plug and play. He's not necessarily gonna get an 8-episode show like he did on Netflix. I think he's gonna be thrown in Spider-Man movie. He's gonna be thrown in the Daredevil show. He's gonna get thrown in, if they do Hawkeye season 2, maybe they'll throw him in Hawkeye. You know, he'll be a character that just kind of bounces around between projects and then gets his own 40 to 50 minute special every now and then. I think that's the future of Frank Castle. Very, very excited. But the next time we do see Frank will be in Brand New Day. Super excited about that. We finally get to see Tom Holland and John Bernthal together in those two roles at the same time. It's freaking awesome. Super excited. Okay. So let's get through all the categories here. And then we'll wrap things up with all the rankings. So, iconic scenes. Again, these are the scenes that you think of first when you hear the title Daredevil Born Again, or The Punisher, or One Last Kill. So first up, we got Foggy's death in season 1. Like that, like I said before, that is the episode, that is the moment that made me realize that this is going to be a great freaking show. And it was so well done. Charlie Cox was amazing in there. He's fighting Poindexter. He's having to listen to his best friend die at the same time. It was so good. Next scene, Daredevil versus Muse in Heather's office in season 1. Freaking bloody mess. You know, like he's hacking up Muse. He drives his freaking grappling hook into his shoulder, yanks him back. Heather gets cut up too. Eventually, Heather grabs the gun and shoots Muse into hell like 6 times. But this thing was a bloody mess, and I think of it all the time when I hear Daredevil Born Again. My mind goes to that office scene where there's just pools of blood everywhere. Season 2, Daredevil fighting guys on a Northern Starship. This is another hell of a way to open up a season for Daredevil, where he gets onto the ship. It's an armed ship that Kingpin's trying to, hide into the city to arm people. And Daredevil just goes to town and just beats the shit out of people. He's yelling. He's cranking metal. Like, this was an incredible fight. I think of that boat fight all the time when I hear Daredevil Born Again. And then Fisk killing citizens at the courthouse in season 2. Like this. Okay, so my first reaction to this was, this finale turned into an episode of The Boys. Like, Fisk was beating the shit out of just civilians. He was cracking their heads open, breaking limbs, throwing them against the wall. Like, he was dismembering people. And it was a bloody mess, and it looked like an episode of The Boys. And I was so happy, again, that Disney just leaned into the gore and the blood for this. Like, it was true Kingpin. Like, this is what Kingpin is capable of. Just ripping an entire group of people in half, dismembering them, cracking their skulls open, throwing them across the room, throwing them through a wall, through a door. Like, it was such an incredible and intense scene to watch. And then the one scene that I think of the most from One Last Kill, the Punisher special, is Frank shooting the dog killer in his new Punisher outfit, which is the last, like, 10 seconds of the show, or the special, where we get it's kind of a full circle, which was pretty cool, where we're shown this, I'm assuming he's homeless, feeding his dog some food. These punk-ass people monkey with him, pick up his dog, throw his dog into the street, and gets run over by a garbage truck, I think it was. Gruesome. It was gruesome. I've never shown my sister that scene because she would just have nightmares forever. But, so then it goes full circle where Frank is in his new, and I think it's the best outfit that he has. Like, this new Punisher, the logo looks crisp. He just looks really good with the haircut, with the beard trim. Like, this is prime Punisher, I think, from a visual standpoint. He comes out, he's beating the shit out of these guys. He looks up at the homeless guy. Homeless guy's like, yeah, he killed my dog. Fucking wasted, dude. And that's what the Punisher does. Wastes him. And that's it. That's how it is. Click, boom, and the special is over. And it's like, no, I want more. I want more. And that's what it should do. It should want you hungry for more. And I think of that scene because Frank looks so good. And this is the outfit that he'll wear in Brand New Day, because this is directly going to tie into Brand New Day. So that was kind of bridges the gap between Daredevil and Spider-Man, was this special. So it was really, really cool. But I think the most iconic scene is going to be Foggy's death. That's the one that sticks with me the most when I hear Daredevil Born Again. And then for One Last Kill, of course, it's the only one that I nominated here, was the Frank in his new outfit and wasting that dog killer. But Foggy's death is what sticks to my mind the most when I hear the title Daredevil Born Again. It's just, I'm replaying that whole scene in my head right now as we're podcasting. It's just, it sticks with you. It's so good. Let's fucking go moments. This was a little tough because there's quite a bit of them, so I tried to shrink it down a little bit here. So a couple from season 1 here. Daredevil tackling Bullseye into Josie's. Very beginning. You know, Foggy's been shot. Karen's freaking out. And you see Daredevil swing in and tackle Bullseye through the window of the bar. And it's like, all right, let's fucking go. We're about to get a throwdown here. Foggy's dying outside. Matt Murdock's pissed. He's going to beat the shit out of Bullseye. Let's fucking go. Then we get Frank showing up in Matt's apartment at the very end of season 1, ready to kill some task force people. It's when he shows up in his Punisher vest, it's like, let's fucking go. Punisher is about to punish some people. Excited. Next up, Matt shows up at Karen's trial in season 2. That was pretty cool. Like, I love the show. I think it's a great show. We need more Matt in a courthouse setting. Like, we've gotten it a few times. I think we got it more in the Netflix series. He's Daredevil more, which I know it makes sense that it's Daredevil Born Again. It's not Matt Murdock Born Again. But I was kind of starving for more Matt Murdock in a trial. And I hope season 3 gives us more of that. So when he shows up for Karen's trial, like a badass, ready to be co-counselor, it's like, let's fucking go. Let's go convict some fucking people and let's exonerate Karen Page from the charges. Like, whenever he enters a courtroom as Matt Murdock, it's like, let's fucking go. Let's get this shit done. And then Frank showing up in his new Punisher outfit in One Last Kill. It's like, let's fucking go. He's got a cool shoot. It looks awesome. Like, let's go. But the let's fucking go moment out of all these, it's probably Frank showing up in Matt's apartment in the Punisher suit, ready to kill the task force. It's like, all right, Punisher's here. We're about to get a really cool bloody mess. Let's fucking go. So that's mine there. So drop into the comments below what your let's fucking go moment is and what your iconic scene is for Daredevil Born Again and One Last Kill. Favorite quotes. I got a few of them here from both the special and Born Again. So a couple from Matt Murdock here. I'm fine, just shot in the leg. We're not serving justice here, we're babysitting chaos. I thought that was a pretty badass line. And then, you step out of line, I'll be there. Speaking to Wilson Fisk. A couple from Frank Castle, because John Berthal is just a badass. Anytime he calls Matt or Daredevil Red, it's music to my ears. That is Frank Castle's nickname in the comics and the cartoons. So whenever John Berthal is saying Red, I giddy like a fanboy. It's so good. I'm not playing patty cake with these fanboys. I'm chopping them up, as he says to about the task force to Matt. And then I don't think you came here for my help. See, I think you want my permission. This is when he's talking to Matt. Matt's kind of seeking permission to murder Poindexter and Wilson Fisk for the murder of Foggy. But he presented as if, hey, Frank, I need your help. And Frank's like, all right, I'm calling bullshit on this one, Red. You're not here for my help. You want me to say it's okay for you to go murder somebody. So I thought that was a pretty badass line. This one from Wilson Fisk. It's hard to come to terms with our violent nature. That was my best D'Onofrio impression. That was in the trailer. That was a cold line to say in the show. Really, really like it. And then this one from the special, her character's name is Ma, but she is the wife / mother Ganucci of that family that Frank killed. She goes, and when that final moment comes, no, it was the Ganucci's who did it. You didn't finish anything, Frank. I'm the one who's doing the punishing now. I thought that was a pretty cold line to say to the Punisher. Favorite quote? It's probably Frank Castle just calling Daredevil Red. Like I said, I just giddy like a fanboy when he says Red. I really like it. And just coming from John Bernthal. John Bernthal's got a really badass voice that I like hearing. And then we got some fun facts here for you. So we'll kind of rip through these and then we'll wrap things up with the rankings here. So Daredevil Born Again was announced on October 23rd, 2023. That Kevin Feige and the other Marvel executives watched the first few episodes during the writers and actors strikes and didn't like what they saw. So they fired all the writers, all the directors, and sought new creative people. After multiple delays due to the reshoots and the 2023 strikes, if you remember those, the series premiered 10 years after the original Netflix Daredevil series premiered in 2015. So a couple year delay there. But I think it was worth it. Getting a whole different team and kind of revamping the story, and I really like the finishing product. Kamar Reyes, I believe is how you say his name. Again, I'm terrible at names. I apologize. He is the actor that portrayed Hector, a.k.a. White Tiger. He unfortunately passed away from cancer on December 24th, 2023. The second and third episodes of the series, Optics and The Hollow of His Hand, were dedicated to Reyes' memory. White Tiger was and that makes sense that he was only in a few episodes. But it was a really interesting character where he's just trying to do the right thing. He gets put on trial for saving this guy who's getting beat up by dirty cops. Well, one of the cops ends up getting killed, but it was by their own hand. It wasn't by Hector's hand. So Matt's got to come in and become his savior and rectify this injustice. But this forces Matt has no other choice but to reveal the world that Hector is White Tiger. Hector did not know that, but it was the only way to get the win in that case and prove Hector's innocence. So, but I like the Hector character. He is like one of the true, like, honest to God good people in this show. And he's just trying to do the right thing, and it's unfortunate that Reyes had to die. I tried to find if like his death in the show was obviously not, because he passed away, but it's kind of weird now. It's kind of eerie that you're like, oh, he died in real life and he dies in the show. It's just like, oh, that's kind of weird and scary. But I do like the White Tiger character. Thoughts and prayers to his family, of course. This show is named after the 1986 comic book story arc Born Again, which was written by Frank Miller. However, it was not a direct adaptation. Elements of the arc had already been adapted in season 3 of the Netflix Daredevil Netflix series. So, but it's cool that they actually took the comic book name, Born Again. That's what Spider-Man did with Brand New Day. That's an actual Spider-Man comic. I like it when they do that, when they take actual names from these comic books and just slap it on the movie. But I get it; they're not going to be able to do a full adaptation because of the story that they're telling. But I thought that was an interesting fact to share there. The show features new original character Daniel Blake, a young man who is a big fan of Wilson Fisk and is part of his mayoral staff. Daniel Blake is portrayed by Michael Gandolfini, whose late father, James Gandolfini, was originally considered to play Wilson Fisk, aka Kingpin, in a movie trilogy proposed to Fox in 2012. So that's interesting that Gandolfini was considered as Kingpin. But that ultimately went through, and Marvel casted D'Onofrio as Kingpin. What a huge sliding doors there if that would have led to something. In this series, Bullseye, aka Benjamin Poindexter, wears a costume like his iconic navy blue costume from the comics for the first time. The costume seen here has a few changes though, like the mask covering the mouth and there being no white accents on the boots, collar, mask, or gloves. However, the bullseye target is on the back of his gloves instead of the forehead. I wonder if they'll do that. If you remember, Colin Farrell had the scar of the bullseye on his forehead for the Ben Affleck movie. That was a terrible idea. I much rather prefer what they did with Poindexter in here. And I don't think they ever referenced Colin Farrell as Poindexter either. I think they always just referred to him as Bullseye, which I'm just now remembering that. And that's interesting too. The Mayor Fisk storyline that this show adapts comes from the run of Daredevil comics, where Wilson Fisk runs for mayor as an independent and gains public support following a Hydra takeover of the city in the Secret Empire storyline. Fisk wins, having rigged the vote to be sure, and promises to restrain vigilantes in the city. Matt Murdock also served as deputy mayor for a time, and Fisk fully outlaws vigilantism in the Devil's Reign storyline that came after it. So, pulling a lot of aspects from the comics. Again, I wish they would have gotten more Mayor Fisk in between season 1 and season 2, but I'm not Kevin Feige, so I'm sure he had a reason for that. This is the first appearance of Daredevil's black costume outside the comics. He, of course, wears the black costume in season 2, which I thought was really, really awesome. This was first used in the 2010 Shadowland comic book event when Matt was serving as the leader of the Hand. A similar costume was used early in a 2016 series of comics prior to the return to the classic red costume. I really like the red costume. Now, reading this, that was originally his costume as the leader of the Hand. I think that might lead to him being in Spider-Man again. We're finding a lot of things that support the theory that Daredevil will be in Spider-Man Brand New Day. It's gonna be awesome. Looking at the One Last Kill special now, a couple of fun facts here. Addie Bernthal, John Bernthal's real-life daughter, plays Lisa Castle, Frank Castle's daughter in the show. So we get those flashbacks of his daughter, and that is actually John Bernthal's daughter. And then One Last Kill was John Bernthal's first writer credit. Fantastic. He should get some more writer credits. He should even direct. Like, he's a really good actor and really good performer. And the way that he made Punisher his own, fantastic. I really like it. So, but yes, Daredevil Born Again, Punisher, One Last Kill. Absolutely love these projects. They're so good. I love diving into this part of the MCU. It's fascinating. I just love Charlie Cox, love John Bernthal, love their chemistry together as Daredevil and Punisher bouncing off of each other. It's so well done. One of my favorite projects for sure. One of my favorite parts of the MCU for sure. Next to Spider-Man, next to Guardians of the Galaxy. Absolutely love it. So, finishing things off, let's head to the rankings. So in today's rankings, we'll go through the MCU ranking for both Daredevil and Punisher. We'll go through the villain scale for Kingpin, and then we'll wrap it up with the popcorn rating for both Punisher Special and Born Again. So looking at the MCU ranking, We're going to pull it up here on the cinematicreviews.com site under our new rankings tab, which is awesome to say on the show. So Daredevil Born Again comes in at number 10. So it is in the top 10 of the MCU for me. Like I've said throughout this episode today, fantastic show. One of my favorite parts of the MCU to dive in. Love Charlie Cox. Love all the gore, all the dark moments of it. Love all the comic book stuff that they pull in. It's just an incredibly well-made show. I absolutely love it and can't wait for more. Season 3 can't come soon enough. Punisher, One Last Kill, a little bit lower. We got this one at number 16. So I got it at number 16 here. Again, fantastic. It's only 50 minutes, but it's a crazy balls to the wall, pedal to the metal, 50 minutes of just pure chaos and gore and violence and just a lot of angry Frank Castle. Bernthal is fantastic in this. I just absolutely love it. So Punisher comes in at number 16. Villain scale. So reminder, villain scale. This is where we talk about the villain of the Marvel project. We'll look at the motivation of the villain, the costume, and the performance by said actor. In this case, it is Wilson Fisk, aka Kingpin, played by Mr. Vincent D'Onofrio. Fantastic. I love D'Onofrio as Kingpin. His performance in this show specifically, truly mesmerizing. So sinister, so kind of original. Like, he puts the D'Onofrio spin on it. And the D'Onofrio voice, like if you've heard D'Onofrio talk in real life, it's kind of similar to that, but it's different. Like, his Kingpin voice is going to be iconic. Like, if it's not iconic already, it will be iconic. It's just, it sticks with you. And the performance of D'Onofrio just sticks with you as Kingpin. He's such a good actor. And I'm so glad that he's was given the opportunity to role like this, where he gets to stretch his wings, he gets to play with it a little bit, make it his own, and it's just truly amazing what he does as Kingpin. Love it. Costume, I love the costume, all the different colored suits. He wears the white suit a lot now in season 2. Love the look of D'Onofrio as Kingpin in the suit. He's got the gut, he's got the towering height, he's got the bald shaven head. It's just perfect. He looks great. You ripped him right out of the comic. He's so good. And the motivation. Like, Kingpin truly believes that he is trying to help New York by getting rid of masked vigilantes. But he's also a piece of shit. You know, he's bringing in guns. He's got his own task force. He's locking up people that he just simply doesn't like, or he's just wearing a mask. But deep down, he truly believes that he is doing the right thing for New York. And that's a good motivation for a villain to have when they believe that what they are doing is the right thing, that is for the right reasons in their head, that they think this is going to be people like, oh my God, thank you, Kingpin. Like, we were against you, but you were right. You know, it's good that you did this. And in his mind, that's the fantasy that he tells himself, that this is, in the end, the right thing to do. It's not. You can't just... I understand it. You know, vigilantism is technically against the law, especially when they commit assault, commit murder, you know, which Daredevil has done hundreds of times. Punisher has done 1,000 times. But, and I get it, you can't take the law into your hands, but at the end of the day, sometimes you just got to be Batman. You know, some cities need Batman, and it's just, you know, the law ends up being a handcuff and not, you know, something we should always follow. Now, I'm not saying go out and commit assault and commit murder, guys, but it's like sometimes, like I said, sometimes you just need to be Batman to do the right thing. And that's what Daredevil thinks. You know, sometimes he has to be Daredevil to do the right thing, to serve justice. Because whether the cops can't do it because they're again handcuffed to a badge, or because they're dirty cops, so they're in it for themselves. And that's what Kingpin believes, is that vigilantism is against the law, which technically he's not wrong. Like, assault, that's a crime. Murder, that's a crime. Like, for what Daredevil did to Poindexter at the beginning of season 1, that alone would probably get him 20, 25 years in jail. Just that one alone, on top of the hundreds of other things that he's did in the Netflix series and going forward with season 1, season 2 of Born Again. Like, Kingpin's not wrong. Like, Daredevil committed crimes, which is why he didn't put up a fight when they came to arrest him in that cute little restaurant with Karen Page at the end of season 2. But all that said, I'm giving Wilson Fisk, aka Kingpin, 5 Thanos heads. One of the best villains that we have currently in the Marvel Universe, and a lot of it is because of D'Onofrio's performance. Truly, truly fantastic. I love it. 5 Thanos heads for Mr. Wilson Fisk. And then to wrap things up, the popcorn ratings for Daredevil Born Again and the Punisher special. Probably guess what I'm going to give the Daredevil. It's the golden popcorn. Highest we got on the rating. Fantastic. It's the top 10 project in the MCU. It's just, I love it. It's a golden popcorn through and through. The Punisher, One Last Kill. I'm giving this one 5 popcorns. With it only being 50 minutes and just pure chaos, I think there's some room to grow here. I just couldn't quite get to golden popcorn on this one, but 5 popcorns is really good. You know, for a quick 50-minute chaotic mess that was One Last Kill, 5 popcorns, it's still a fantastic project. Absolutely love it. So I'm giving it 5 popcorns. So that's going to do it for today's Punisher-sized episode with Daredevil Born Again and Punisher One Last Kill. You can check both of those out on Disney Plus today. And then you can also check out the original Daredevil series, I think on Disney Plus 2 now. It was originally a Netflix series, but I think they've added it onto Disney Plus as well, along with the 2 seasons of Punisher that John Bernthal did too on Netflix. So plenty of Daredevil and Punisher content to check out on top of these that I talked about today. Looking ahead, looks like we've got Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings next week as our Marvel review episode. Mandalorian, the Grogu movie are out now, so we're going to review that as well next week. And then we'll jump into some more Marvel reviews, Eternals, Hawkeye. We'll get to Spider-Man No Way Home. We've got the Top Gun Maverick July 4th special event that'll be dropping on July 4th. We got more new releases coming out. Scary Movie 5, Masters of the Universe comes out next week. A bunch of other movies, Spider-Man Brand New Day, Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey. Like, it's going to be a jam-packed summer. So there's going to be a lot of content coming your way. So check out all the episodes from Cinematic Reviews. Go check out all the previous ones, like the Mortal Kombat 2 episode, the Michael review episode, bunch of other ones. We did Loki, Falcon and Winter Soldier, WandaVision, Super Mario Brothers movie, Black Widow. Like, bunch of stuff to go check out. Check out the website, cinematic-reviews.com. Set up a profile in there. Go ahead and rate Daredevil Born Again and The Punisher One Last Kill, like I just did with the popcorn rating. Go ahead and rank it with your own MCU ranking. Tons of stuff in there. Test your knowledge with trivia questions. Check out other people's reviews. Like, tons of stuff to do on the website. Go ahead. I set it up a way that you guys can kind of make it your own. You know, you can design your own profile the way you want to check out other people. I think eventually I'll add a chat feature in there so you can maybe talk to each other. But you can comment on different people's reviews so you can kind of chat through that way. But lots of fun things coming to the website. But it's grown into a pretty nice product. So go ahead and check that out. Check out all the social media pages. I'll post all the graphics and stuff like that from today's episode on there, as well as some other stuff too. So have a good rest of your day. Enjoy the holiday weekend. Happy Memorial Day to all of you and all of our members that served. May we remember them. Yeah, go ahead and enjoy the week. Later, everybody.